Hello and welcome to Cricket Inside Out. This is episode 2, and even though we don't have any action on the pitch, plenty of cricket to talk through. News just in: Australia ranked number 1 on the ICC Test and T20 international rankings. How have they achieved this? That's coming up on the show today. Which Hall of Fame icon turns 51 tomorrow? Do you perhaps know? We're going to be just taking a look back at some of our favorite highlights from his career. And then in our Stat Attack, we're taking a closer look at just how a certain cricketer manages to turn his tons into a lot more regularly than anyone else in the game, past and present. Joining me today on the show, it is my pleasure to welcome the legendary Australian all-rounder Lisa Sthalekar and the Kiwi with the great shoes, former Black Cap, Simon Doull, two much-loved voices of our commentary teams. Simon, what has lockdown been like where you are? I saw on Instagram you've been back to work already.
First day back at work. Hey, Elma. Hi, Lisa. How are you? First day, well, I wouldn't say back at work, at a new job for me today. My wife and her father have a cleaning business, and I put on the high-vis shirt and I started cleaning houses today. So that's what lockdown has looked like today. For the past 4 weeks, it's just been about staying at home. Plenty of barbecues, or braais, as you might call them, Elma, and plenty of family time.
Yeah, staying safe, staying home together. Lisa, we've all been mastering new skills, getting into new habits, finding interests to keep us busy with. What have you been getting stuck into?
Well, I've always wanted to spend some time in the kitchen and cook some Indian recipes, ones that I've wanted to do for a long period of time. But for those that have cooked Indian food, there's so many different layers, so many elements that it takes you an hour and a half, 2 hours. I've never had the time. I've got plenty of time at the moment, so that's what I've been doing. I've been trying to create some family dishes and some new ones as well.
Oh, brilliant. So now this whole period has been one where it feels like the earth's been moving under our feet, but we have had some great distraction as far as, well, cricketing news for Australia is concerned. Lisa, your thoughts on that number 1 ranking for the Australian men's side? How significant is this news?
Yeah, it's massive for the Australian side, who's probably 18 months, 2 years ago, trying to rebuild as from a cultural point of view. I think a lot of, they're number 1 now, but a lot of work was done with Justin Langer and the Australian squad when David Warner and Steve Smith weren't in the side. They drew a test against Pakistan. Then they beat India 1 game here. Even though they lost the series, their top order batters started to believe, and they didn't rely on just those 2 guys scoring runs. So then when they came back into the side, the rest of the side was humming nicely. You add them in, all of a sudden Australia become a really dominant force.
Simon, what does this mean for Australian cricket? It's pretty good timing, or is it?
Yeah, I think it is good timing. Not great timing for some of the opposition that have been to Australia in recent times. I think of the stats that I've seen in the last year, at home, they're 10 from 10 when it comes to T20s and Test match cricket. They lost a couple away. I think they've only lost 3 out of 18 games in the last year in Test matches and T20s. So they've been dominant. I think it's a rise back to where they have been so often over the time that I've been watching cricket. They've had their ups and their downs, but for most of the time in the last 15 to 20 years, they've been either ranked number 1, 2, or 3 and been one of the better sides. They're brilliant at home. I think their bowling attack is superb. Marnus Labuschagne, who they unearthed through the Ashes series, has certainly been a great foil for the likes of Steve Smith. David Warner is enjoying his time back at home, but still that touring side of things for him has probably been a little bit of a struggle. But their bowling attack, to me, Stark, Cummings, I think Josh Hazlewood is possibly the unsung hero. To me, he is one of the most complete bowlers in world cricket at the moment. So that, and then you throw in the best finger spinner in the world at present, and probably for the last 5-6 years, along with Ravi Ashwin, in Nathan Lyon, and you've got a very, very good side who are almost unbeatable at home.
It's interesting hearing all of these players' names. Lisa, you mentioned the coaching staff. I'm sure when Australia looks back on this 2-year period from March 2018 to March 2020, they will draw on the galvanizing effect of the tough times that they've faced for quite a few years still.
Yeah, and they're kind of conscious of the fact that they want to keep working on the culture. And once they do that, everything else will take care of itself. And Justin Langer, when he was a player, was that type of player that focused on the little things. And he's trying to get the guys to kind of open up their eyes to realize the game is a little bit bigger than just what they're feeling at that time. They're representing country. They took the guys to Turkey, where our Anzacs in Gallipoli were able to lost so many lives, and we just recently had Anzac Day, and you saw a lot of the players posting those emotional pictures of their time there. So he's trying to get the group to see the bigger picture, and it's working because they're coming together as a group. And we know that you can have so many great individual stars, but if you get a group that believes in a sole purpose, in a one goal, and Tim Payne is leading the side extremely well, then all of a sudden you've got a side that's humming.
I think it comes down a lot to the strength of domestic cricket as well. I know when New Zealand have been strong at times, domestic cricket's been quite strong. And I think that probably goes for most countries around the world. When you feel like your domestic game is going well, there's competition for places in the side. I think those are healthy things. And what Australia probably struggled with for a little bit of time is competition in the batting ranks. In the bowling ranks, I think they're very, very well served at the moment, and probably in the last 18 months to 2 years, with Pat Cummins being fit and for the most part their quicks being available and on the park. What they have had issues with has been around that 3, 4, 5, 6 time. If Steve Smith's failed, if David Warner hasn't been there, they've just struggled for runs, but they've found guys to produce those runs, and that's what's made quite a big difference, I think, in that in that last sort of 18 months to 2 years as well.
Well, a warm congratulations to Australia. And from the new world number ones to someone who is number one in many a cricket fan's heart. And we're taking another moment in our show to just wish a warm, happy birthday to an icon from the Hall of Fame. I'm, of course, talking about Brian Lara. He turns 51 tomorrow. And if you look at the stats around the Prince, they are absolutely mind-boggling. The only batsman in history to score a quintuple 100, that's 501 not out. In first-class cricket, only one to score a quadruple 100 in Test cricket, and he has scored more Test runs, nearly 12,000, than any other West Indian cricketer. Lisa, your favourite Brian Lara innings?
Well, it's not a great innings from an Australian perspective. We've got to wind the clock back to 1999 in Barbados. And Brian Lara came in, I think, late on day 4 and batted all day 5. The target was 308. And I think it came down to the last session. Australia needed 2 more wickets. West Indies needed 54 runs, and Brian Lara was able to stay out there with Courtney Walsh. He got dropped when there was only 7 runs to win by Ian Healy, but he managed to stay not out, 153 not out for the West Indies to win by 1 wicket. And it was an absolutely thrilling test. It was one that you just didn't want to miss a ball at.
Those numbers are absolutely phenomenal viewing. But your favourite innings, Simon?
I had to pick one where he beat up on Australia as well. Sorry, Lisa. 277 at the Sydney Cricket Ground. I think that was his first Test 100, his first Test double 100. Australia were 1-0 up in that series when they came to Sydney, and normally the West Indies would go to Sydney. It'd be the test that they would lose, and they would win the other test matches on sort of faster, bouncier pitches. But yeah, it was a phenomenal 277. And one of the keys to Brian Lara, yes, he grew up facing quick bowlers and being brilliant at playing the hook shot, the cut shot, those things. But his ability to play spin and to take spin apart was, to me, on show to the max in that innings of 277 at the SCG. It was just phenomenal to watch, and I had the pleasure of playing against Brian. I've played a couple of charity games with Brian, played golf with the man, worked in the commentary box with him as well, and I have the pleasure of calling him a mate now, and geez, he's certainly in the top 3 that I ever bowled a cricket ball to. He's just a phenomenal cricketer.
What's his golf handicap?
8, I think at the moment, 7 or 8. I think I may be doing him a disservice. But he's such a technical guy. He's always working on something, and if he just let the game flow like he did with his batting and just didn't worry too much about it or think too much about it, I think he'd be slightly better.
Some cricket and some golf here on Cricket Inside Out. Now, we, of course, would love to hear from you. So head over to Twitter and go vote in our poll, Brian Lara's best innings. Have your voice heard over there. Speaking of having your voice heard, I have loved seeing what people are doing cricket related on social media. Before we get to our favorite fan entry of the week, David Warner is literally establishing a TikTok genre on its own. Lisa's laughing in the background because she knows exactly what I'm talking about. That pink swimsuit.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the winner, isn't it?
Oh, what a moment. Of course, Steve Smith, he's not wearing pink swimsuits. He's getting stuck ISO batting. If you need some tips, head on over there and go follow the guy. The Aussies aren't number 1 in the world for nothing, obviously. Mignon de Pree and her husband, oh my gosh, they have gone full backyard bash. They hosted a match, Team de Pree against Team van der Merwe, and then they had a press conference afterward as well. The press conference is almost better viewing than the cricket. It's great to see them making the most of the good weather in Pretoria. And speaking of good weather, it's like Mother Nature is laughing at people in England because she is just sprinkling sunshine all over the place. And this pretty large family with a pretty large garden decided to make the most of it. And my favorite is the catch right at the end. You have to keep watching for it. If you've seen this video and you scrolled past, you missed the moment of the week. It's better than David Warner and a pink swimsuit. So there you have it. On to From the Fans. We always ask you for your input on the show, and it's been great to see the way in which you've embraced this opportunity. So we've got very important questions for you guys, Lisa and Simon. What impact will a long sabbatical from the game, such as the one we're having now, have on the players who are unable to train in the broader context of the T20 World Cup? This comes from Surya Sesha on Instagram. Simon, do you want to take this?
The impact will be significant for some and not so for others. I think there's plenty of guys and girls out there who are more comfortable training by themselves or more comfortable knowing what they need to do. There are some that rely heavily on coaches, trainers, fitness trainers, and those sorts of people. So I think for each individual, it will be very, very different. I get the feeling, Lisa, from a female point of view, a female cricketer's point of view, they're probably better at this because they haven't been as reliant on coaching and fitness trainers. They've had to do so much more themselves. Yes, it's much more professional now than it was, but I think the men have been so much more reliant in the last 10 to 20 years on being told what to do, where to do it, how to do it, than the woman. So maybe some of the women might be leading the way as far as the training and the skills and everything is concerned through this lockdown period.
Yeah, I agree with you to a certain extent, Simon. You know, we're starting to see so many different athletes in general come up with some unique ways to keep fit. Just from a T20 cricket perspective, if there was the T20 World Cup to go forward, it means that the players from all teams won't have much play before that T20 World Cup. So that almost gives... it's an even playing field, more so than we've ever seen before, and players will have to switch on straight away to perform at the highest level. So, if the T20 World Cup was to take place in October, November here in Australia as was originally scheduled, then I'd be interested to see which team comes out of the blocks the quickest, because there's not a lot of time in that type of competition either.
No, that's really interesting. We have another one here on YouTube. Vishnu Mahesh wants to know which batsman has the potential to break into the Kohli-Smith-Root-Williamson category.
Ooh, gosh, dare I say it, Manus Labuschagne, perhaps. He's probably one of the few that I think has the temperament. The toughest thing for any cricketer is their second year. Once you have had that first year, and the first year being quite successful, there's a lot of video footage and a lot more footage, and people tend to work you out a lot more. So he's probably one that I think has the ability to do it. He seems to have the temperament as well to bat for such long periods of time. So he's one that I think he hasn't quite sort of started his career as I would have liked, but there's a young Indian lad called Shubman Gill who in time I think will be an incredibly good player at the international level as well. So maybe he's one for 4 or 5 years down the track.
I was going to throw one more name in the mix, Babar Azam. I think he's played about just over 25 tests. He just averages under 50. He's come out to Australia twice. The first time he didn't score 100. This time he was able to. So obviously learning to play and perform on different surfaces, which will really mean whoever can do that will then get into that top 4 players. So Babar Azam, I think we should probably take a look at him as well.
Here's one here, Lisa. Did you ever think 10 years ago that there would come a time when the MCG would be filled for women's international? This is from Deepkov on Twitter.
No, it was certainly my dream, my aspiration, and I retired 2013. Never did I think within a 10-year period that was going to happen. I thought it would happen 15, 20 years' time. But yeah, the acceleration of women's cricket probably over the last 5 years has just been outstanding to watch. And obviously the pinnacle was March 8 when that 86,000 people were not just watching Katy Perry, they were also watching the cricket as well.
Question here from Ujan Ray on YouTube. Is the New Zealand bowling lineup of Trent Boult, Tim Southee, Neil Wagner and Matt Henry the best in the world?
No, it's not. It is very good. It's certainly the best. I think Boult, Southee, Wagner is the best New Zealand's ever had. That's quite comfortable. All those guys now well and truly in excess of 150 wickets, which is a wonderful feat. New Zealand have never had that from a pace bowling trio who have played together at the same time. It's a terrific bowling attack. It's got all bases covered, right arm swing, left arm swing and left arm, just genuine nastiness at 135 Ks, if you've ever heard that. I don't know how that works, but he just continues to do the job, Neil Wagner. So it's the best New Zealand's ever had. I'm not sure it's the best attack in the world at the moment. There are some very good bowling attacks going around.
Next up, getting on with the job. We are taking a closer look at the stats, what they tell us, and trying to figure out exactly how this is done. I'm referring to a bit of fan mail of our own, a phenomenal batter that turned 1 year older this week. Happy 33rd birthday to India opener Rohit Sharma, or Rohita, as Yuzvendra Chahal calls him on Chahal TV. In ODI innings, where he passes 100, Sharma averages 139.28 runs. That's the highest of all time, ahead of Richards, ahead of Warner, ahead of Dhoni, ahead of Gale. Talk to me about how he does this. Simon, let's start with you.
Sometimes I wonder because his ability to increase his strike rate past that, even it's past sort of 60, 70, 80. You don't see Rohit Sharma getting stuck in the 90s very often and labouring through the 90s either. He is just a phenomenal player. And, I personally have copped flack in India because I've said that he is the number one. He is the first opener picked in an all-time Indian side. Hands down. I'm sorry, but you look at the stats, look at the numbers. Rohit averages 49, strike rate of 88. Sachin averages 44 with a strike rate of 86, I think, across their careers. So numbers-wise, Rohit's numbers are phenomenal. They're better than Sachin's. That's why, to me, he's the first name on the list. And that's only because you start at number one. Yes, Kohli's on the list and Dhoni's on the list and things as you get further down the order. But he is incredible. I love watching him play. He does it with ease. And I'm not sure why or how those numbers increase so dramatically in excess of that 70, 80, 100 mark but they just do, and I love watching them play.
Lisa, your thoughts?
I just think he's a pure stroke maker. He's the flair within the Indian side. Virat Kohli, he's the backbone, and we see the flair from him when it needs to be. He is outstanding to watch, and you certainly don't want to be an opposition bowler to him.
It's great that he's still busy playing. So when we look back on his career, you know, in terms of all time, where do you think he's kind of looking to rank eventually?
I think he'd make a world 11 of one-day cricket. I honestly do. When you look at those numbers, you look at an opening batsman, 100 scored, average strike rate, longevity of career. I'd find it very, very difficult to leave him out of a world 11 in one-day international cricket.
The great thing about cricket is you can have different types of players within the side, within your batting lineup, and a very good quality side has the best of both worlds. And I think Rohit Sharma provides that flair, that excitement, that power, that aggression at the top of the order to allow the middle order and his partners, whoever he's batting with, to take their time and get settled. So he's certainly up there. Again, sometimes it's hard to compare like for like as well. Like, it's a different era as well. You know, that Rohit Sharma's playing compared to even Sachin. The game keeps changing so dramatically. So it can't. I'm a bit like Simon about men's and women. Sometimes it's hard to compare even male cricketers from different generations.
Next up, we are heading into our debate section. Now, this is something that has gotten quite a bit of media coverage over the last few weeks, as we're all pondering what cricket, not only the world, but particularly cricket, will be like after COVID-19. Now, shining the ball is something that a lot of people are saying shouldn't happen anymore, at least not with bodily fluids, since that poses a risk. The question today, our debate topic, should bowlers be permitted to artificially shine the ball? Lisa, let's hear your position on this.
Right. So if you look at batting and bowling and you look at what the bats have done over the years, they have been manufactured so sweetly, so nicely for the batters that it's nice and thick, the wood is nice and light, it pings off the bat even further than it used to 5 years ago, 10 years ago. So there are certainly advantages that the batters have. Now, unfortunately, the bowlers don't. And when all of a sudden the ball starts misbehaving and swinging differently, everyone starts to question it. I think we need to bring in more of an advantage to the bowlers to make it fair between bat and ball. Now, even before COVID-19 and pandemic, I've always been of the belief that anything that you have on you, so sunscreen, sweat, chewing gum, lollies, because cricketers, we get bored, we have to do something and chew or suck on something. All of those things are allowed. No sandpaper, no metal filing clips in your pocket. You can pick at the ball as well, because I actually think it's an art. It's an art to get the ball to reverse swing. And unfortunately, we've lost that art. And we need to have a better balance between bat and ball. So I'm for bowlers taking advantage of what they have on them to see if they can get the ball to swing around.
Simon, I'm already worried about the people who have to amend the laws, because the list of things that they'll have to allow or make allowance for is probably going to keep growing. Do you agree with Lisa on this?
Oh, the first problem you've got here is you've got two bowlers who are never going to disagree on most things. All right, that's the first issue you've got here. As far as using artificial things to shine the ball, I say not so worried about shining the ball. No sunscreen, no lip salve, no hair gel. You can't be using those things. No lollies, take those away. But I agree with the fact you should be allowed to pick the ball, particularly Test match cricket, one-day international cricket. You've got to bring that reverse swing back into the game. Throw the ball back into the dirt, no issue with that at all. Umpires should stop trying to control the guys and the bowlers and the fielders throwing the ball back into the dirt. So bring reverse swing back into the game. It is an art form. Give the bowlers something back. and make reverse swing allowed. In Test match cricket, the ball must be changed compulsory at 60 overs, not 80 overs, and you don't get the choice whether you change it or not. You must change it at 60. If you're going to allow people to pick at it and throw it into the rough, you've got to change it automatically at 60 overs. So bring that from 80 into 60, change the ball automatically, no arguments there at all, and have the two balls used for a 50 over game. They used a ball from each end until the 34th over. And at the end of the 34th over, the umpires choose the one that's in the best condition. That gets thrown to the team, and they play with that until the end of the game. And that then brings reverse swing into the one-day game later on in the piece as well.
Well, I'm just a little bit confused. So it's not actually looking after the ball. It's making sure that one side is just really rough. I think Simon, his premise around no sunscreen, no lollies, no all of that type, that is going to be extremely hard to police. So I understand after COVID, or whilst we're trying to get the game back and running, that's going to obviously be an issue. But I don't necessarily agree with that moving forward. But that's just my opinion. Too hard to police, Simon.
Yeah, hard to police, but I think my worry about post-COVID is how long does this thing last? We don't know. We don't know how long this pandemic, how long this will be around for. Will we have second waves? Will people still be infectious? Call it what you like in 2 years' time. So do we allow the saliva back in 6 months' time when everybody thinks we're over this or not? I think we do away with it completely. Just get rid of any spitting. I mean, got to get rid of that. It just eliminate all that sort of stuff from the game, and I think we'll be okay. Just bring back scratching at the ball. It's great. Go on.
Scratchy scratch. There you have it. Make sure that you weigh in on social media. Are you Team Simon, Team Lisa, or have you got a better idea for us? At ICC Cricket, International Cricket Council on Facebook. We're on Instagram and YouTube and all over the place. We'll bring you more cricket inside out. Thank you so much, Lisa. Thank you so much, Simon. It was great catching up with you. Stay safe.
Thank you. It's good to see you both.
Yeah, you too. Thanks very much. Yeah, thanks very much. You too, Lisa. And I hope all the fans of cricket around the world are staying safe in these pretty tough times.